Hey, it's Ryan from upfitsupply.com, and in this video we're going to be installing some DuraTherm ceiling liners in our GMC Savana. Let's get started. Okay, just a couple of housekeeping notes on installing the ceilings. Number one, if you are doing a wall and ceiling install, you want to make sure that you have your wall liners in first before moving on to the ceiling. And if you're doing a floor, wall, ceiling, make sure you get your floor in first, then your walls, then your ceilings. In terms of any prep in the van, there really isn't anything that you need to do unless you are going to be doing something different with your factory lights. We actually took our factory lights out. You can see we still had a little wiring here, in case anybody wants to use those in the future. But we're gonna be taking those out because we're gonna be putting in some Legend ceiling lighting, some motion sensor lights. So we're actually gonna leave the cutouts in the ceiling that are designed for those lights in place. I'll show you that here in a minute. So let's go ahead and get our first ceiling liner brought into the van. We are in a extended or 155-inch wheelbase Savana. Installation is going to be the same for the Chevy Express extended. The shorter wheelbase, the regular, the 135-inch wheelbase is going to be similar, but it's a different product because obviously different length vehicle has different length ceiling, walls, floor, and so on. But for broad strokes purposes, this installation video is going to be pretty similar to what you would expect for that 135-inch wheelbase. Second, we're going with the white DuraTherm. This is less popular actually than the gray DuraTherm. We're going with the white because we're just trying to brighten up this dark cargo van. I have the forward piece of the ceiling liner here. In the extended, it is a two-piece installation. So we're going to do one piece installed up towards the front, have a little joiner strip, and then a second piece towards the rear of the van. And I want to show you a couple things on these ceiling liners. You can see I've got some score lines right here. If you have foam blocks up towards the side door, I think the sliding doors may have them, you're going to want to cut the liner along this score line right here. This one's for foam blocks. We have some other scores in here too that are important. You can see this score line right here. This is for your factory ceiling lights. We took ours out because we're going to be putting in some Legend motion sensor lights. So we're actually going to put some tape behind this to keep this little piece from falling out. Then we have some additional score lines here along the edge on both sides. That's where you're going to bend the liner because this roof, or the ceiling, has a bend to it. It's curved. So the design of this van, it's kind of the highest at the center of the vehicle, goes downwards, and on the outside there's a little rain gutter that catches everything, and so on. And so the ceiling liner kind of has to curve like that, and the way that they accommodate that by putting these little kind of half cuts in the liner, that's going to allow you to bend it. So just keep that in mind. We're gonna have to do some of that bending before we lift it in place. Other thing is, if you have a second set of hands, it's a lot easier. You can do it alone, so if you have a second person that can help you hold it in place while you get your little push-in clips in place, that will be helpful. So before we get into it, I'm just going to tape our little cutouts here for the lights in place. This is a full cut all the way through the liner, so I don't know if you can see that, but it is cut all the way through. So if we didn't tape it, then those could potentially fall out. Okay, I'm just gonna get my bend started in here so that I'm not having to do this while I'm holding it up and trying to line up clips as well. Next, I'm just going to get a couple of these push-in clips ready to go. Ugh. There we go. So just a couple of notes. Do go underneath this headliner up here towards the front. Now some of the partitions will tie into that little cross bar right there. So you may need to do some trimming of this once you put your partition in. Just keep that in mind. Other thing is, this does slip under these little plastic pieces of trim here on either side as well. It makes it a lot easier to put those bends in before you start lifting the ceiling up. Okay, for the next piece of the puzzle, before we put in our second ceiling liner, actually got to use this joiner strip. You can make this as sophisticated or as simple as you want. What I think I'm going to do is just do our joiner from here to this bend right here. So this can remain relatively straight, otherwise it's gonna be a challenge to get everything else lined up. You could do one section from here to here, one section from here to here, and then another one from here to here, and there to there. Depends on how picky you are gonna be about the aesthetic. For me, I just want this main portion to connect for some stability with the liner that's gonna connect it with and make it have that seamless look. So what I'm gonna do is just take a measurement from the area that I'm going to be putting this in. I'm gonna take this measurement down here on our joiner strip. Then I'm just gonna trim this. Again, I'm only using this section, so you got a lot extra if you wanna do a piece from here to here, cut a separate piece from there to there, and other pieces for this small portion right here. It's really up to you. So a trick on cutting this, you don't have to cut all the way through with a razor blade. Get a sharp razor and just kind of score it, get a nice semi-cut in there, bend it, and it snaps. Do it on both sides, snap right off, give you a nice clean cut. Another thing is if there is any insulation, I noticed when I put this up, there was, about a ½ inch to an inch of insulation that didn't go all the way to the end of this. This is gonna have a hard time fitting on this liner if you have insulation on the back. You just wanna trim a little bit away from the back of the liner so you can make sure that this will slide on there nice and easily. I'm gonna do the same thing and just check that other liner before we put it up there. Otherwise, it's gonna be a challenge getting that in. Okay, like I just mentioned, you can see on this liner, it does have insulation all the way to the edge, so that's gonna be hard to get it into our little joiner strip. You can also see it's pre-scored. Now we also have a couple cavities here for our lights as well, so I'm gonna tape those. Again, I'm gonna bend this before I get it up. Looks like it's shipped with one of the bends already in here. So, two things I'm gonna do on this next part. Number one, I need to slide it into this joiner strip. Then I need to get my holes lined up. Then I need to push in my clips. Okay, as you can see, I do have this portion that's just kind of hanging down because this was folded to fit in the box as part of the packaging. So there's no clip or anything holding this up. We are going to be doing our sills, which will help hold this in place. But to help combat that, I'm actually going to do a joiner strip kind of on this section right here in between these two liners to help give it some stability. All right, so this is a little bit better, but still kind of hanging down here. So I'm actually gonna put in our sills next. It's gonna help hold this up as well as just give a nice seamless look in between our wall and ceiling liner. So we're gonna do that next. Okay, well, in between putting in our ceiling liner and our sills, we actually installed our ceiling lights. So that's why those magically appeared. If you're interested in these ceiling lights, we've got another video showing you how to install these. Some electrical work that has to be done before we put in our sills. We have 4 sills here for our Savana. You're gonna have a sill right here. I think they call it 1A in the instruction manual. This is only used if you have the barn doors like we have. Got a sliding door, you do not use this piece. And one thing I always recommend when dealing with these sills, these are aluminum, do have sharp edges on them, so I just recommend wearing some gloves. I'm actually gonna start with this sill over the barn door. That'll give me a nice starting point so I can figure out where I can put the rearward sill. This little cutout is for this latch right here. And it should fit in place. Now it looks like underneath we're gonna attach into the door frame or the sheet metal, double wall sheet metal right there. And then on the top we're just gonna go into the liner. Now, this does include all of the self-threading screws that you need for installation, probably some extras as well. Go ahead and grab those out. Passenger side rear is actually going to have this little cutout right here. I'm going to line this up. Well, that just about does it for the installation of these ceiling liners with our sills. After installing this, I would definitely recommend getting those sills with the ceiling liners because it's kind of a structural important item for keeping this side of the ceiling liner up. So if you're looking at making that purchase, either get the sills or make another plan on how you're gonna keep this back flap from kind of drooping down. Now, if you're looking for these ceiling liners, the wall liners, this floor, these grab handles, the lights, whatever you need to get your van or truck ready for work, be sure to check us out at upfitsupply.com. My name is Ryan, and have a good one.